Hare Krishna, welcome all the devotees for Shubha Mangalarati. I thank all the devotees. So, after a long break, we will start our Srimad Bhagavatam class. Of course, Monday, Tuesday, there was a Bhagavatam class. So, without much waiting, we will start our session. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjan Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं मुदिरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं पद्ममहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदिनधरं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वर Hare Krishna, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapter number 18, sloka number 41. Nishamya Shaptam Atat Arham Narendram Sa Brahmano Natmajam Abhyanandat Maho Patam Ho Mahad Adya Te Krutam Kalpiya Shidroha Urur Tamodritaha. Word meaning translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So word meaning Nishamya after hearing Shaptam Karsud Atat Arham never to be condemned Nara Indram unto the king best of humankind. Saw that Brahmana Rishi na not Atmajam his own Abhyanandat congratulated Aho alas Bata distressing Amha since Mahat great Adya today they yourself Krutam performed Alpiyashi insignificant Drohe offense Uru very great Damaha punishment Dhruta awarded translation. The father heard from his son that the king had been cursed although he should never have been condemned, for he was the best among all human beings, the rishi did not congratulate his son, but on the contrary began to repent, saying, Alas, what a great sinful act was performed by my son. He has awarded heavy punishment for an insignificant offense. Purport the king is the best of all human beings. He is the representative of God and he is never to be condemned for any of his actions. In other words, the king can do no wrong. The king may order hanging of a culprit son of a Brahmana, but he does not become sinful for killing a Brahmana. Even if there is something wrong with the king, he is never to be condemned. A medical practitioner may kill a patient by mistaken treatment, but such a killer is never condemned to death. So, what to speak of a good and pious king like Maharaj Parikshit? In the Vedic way of life, the king is trying to become a Raja Rishi or a great saint, although he is ruling as king. It is the king only by whose good government the citizens can live peacefully and without any fear. The Raja Rishis would manage their kingdom so nicely and piously that their subjects would respect them as if they were the Lord. That is the instruction of the Vedas. The king is called Narendra or the best amongst the human beings. How then could a king like Maharaj Parikshit be condemned by an inexperienced, puffed up son of a Brahmana, even though he had attained the powers of a qualified Brahmana? Since Samika Rishi was an experienced good Brahmana, he did not approve of the actions of his condemned son. He began to lament for all that his son had done. The king was beyond the jurisdiction of curses as a general rule. And what to speak of a good king like Maharaj Parikshit? The offense of the king was most insignificant, and his being condemned to death was certainly a very great sin for Shringi. Therefore, Rishi Saimika regretted the whole incident. Om Tat Sat Om Ajnanatimidandasya Anjana Shalakaya Chakshmurunmilitam Meena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadartikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sritapatakamulam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathapitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalitasya Vishakhanvitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastume तप्तकाञ्चन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी शिवानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, welcome the devotees. Thank you very much for joining. And here in this sloka, so much to learn from Srimad Bhagavatam. Before that, what happened in the previous verses like 39 and 40, also we can learn. So in 39, it is mentioned, O Brahmanas, the Rishi was born in the family of Angir Muni. Hearing his son crying, gradually opened his eyes and saw the dead snake around his neck. So here we understand that Saimika Rishi is coming in the legacy, the family of Angir Muni. Angir Muni was a great saintly person, and who is coming in his family. They are really, great brahmanas, great rishis actually. So this Shungi, he came crying in front of the meditating Brahmana. Um, then, the sage opened his eyes and he saw a snake around his neck and he could able to understand what happened. So then in 40, what happened? He threw the dead snake and asked his son why he was crying, whether anyone had done him harm. On hearing this, the son explained to him what had happened. So actually, Saimik Rishi did not bother what was in his neck, and neither as Parikshit. They both did not worry a lot. But whereas this Shringi, the so-called Brahmana, he had a lot of worry, and he did a lot of mistakes, and because of that, the whole episode has to take place. Of course, this is the will of the Lord, but is a lot of learning is also there for us also. Okay, so we move forward here. Just a moment. Could you able to see my screen? Now I'm stopping it.
Now we can see it, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you. So a few points I would like to share in this verse. For Shringi, Saimik Rishi is the seminal father and also is the spiritual father. So when both fathers are in the same segment, it is difficult for the child to follow. In the Vedic period, actually, it was quite good. But nowadays, the father or mother, especially when father instructs the son and he is unable to follow the instruction. So when the spiritual master also instructs, it is very difficult for today's spiritual son to follow the instructions of a spiritual master. And this is the influence of Kali Yuga. So the Shringi, he didn't, he offended Maharaj Parikshit. Actually, he would have even fought with, he would have argued, he would have fought, or he would have done something else. rather than cursing Maharaj Parikshit. So, uh, because of his curse, his father was not happy actually. In the purport, it is mentioned that Shami Krishi did not congratulate his son. So, when a father receives information about his son for his achievements, accolades, awards, rewards, the father is naturally happy. But at the same time, if the son does some mischievous things, obviously no father is happy in this world. So, for any wrongdoings or any offenses, father excuses the children for their spiritual well-being, so that he can support and he can encourage and he can give a lot of cooperation for the children in Krishna consciousness. That is a Krishna conscious father can do that. So here, what happens sometimes, a sage curses for the benefit of people. For example, Narada Muni curses Nalakuvera and Manikriva, because when Narada Muni was passing by, this Nalakuvera and Manikriva, who were the sons of Kuber, and they were participating in illegal sex, and they did not see, neither they respect Narada Muni. So this is actually a sinful activity. Then how a saintly person could able to save them? So by cursing, he saved them actually. And they came to their senses and they begged forgiveness, Shapa Vimochan. Then Nardamani gave a Shapa Vimochan saying that you stay back as trees until the Supreme Lord appears in uh, Dwapara Yuga. Then he will appear in front of you and he will give blessings. Then you will be removed of your sinful activity. So in this case, it is agreed that Narada Muni, exalted personality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, uh, disciple, he could able to do this. But in the history, we can observe that even Durvaja Muni also, he cursed Maharaj Ambarish. But this is very contempt, and he was not supposed to do that because of his sense gratification and showing his power against the devotee of the Lord. This is most problematic for individual person for his bhakti. It is just like uh, knife in the hands of a doctor or knife in the hands of a cruel person. So in one case, the doctor with a knife, he can able to save the life of a patient. Sometimes mistaken treatment also will be given. That does not mean that the doctor should be killed. At the same time, a knife in the cruel person, he can do anything. He can physically harm and he can even kill a person. So this is like this. In the same way, if we have the spiritual power or some austerity had we taken, we get some Shakti, which was also granted by the Supreme Lord, that we should not misuse actually. So if misuses, then you have to take the reaction. So literally, we are already in the material world. In this material world, every action has got equal and opposite reaction, and also those who have taken birth, they have to die actually. Mhm. That is the nature of this material world. But here in this case, Maharaj Parikshit was very young enough, and he has to rule the kingdom, and he has to see the welfare of all his citizens. So, um, in the translation, it is mentioned that the Shringi he has awarded heavy punishment for insignificant offense. You could have actually uh, talked to the king. He got the news from other people, and he would have reached out the spot, and he would have witnessed what actually happened, and he would have discussed it with Maharaj Parikshit. Oh dear Parikshit, what happened to you? What made you to do so with my father? In humble, kind words, had he responded, then there would not be a situation like this. Actually, the king is called Naradeva or Narendra. He was, representative of the Supreme Lord, and he is never to be chastised or condemned for any of his actions. So Prabhupada says that, in other words, the king can do no wrong. The king may order hanging a culprit of son of a Brahmana, but he does not become sinful for killing a Brahmana. Because, as we heard, in Bhagavad Gita, there are various people who would be, killed. On killing them, there is no sin on the person. So here Prabhupada says that in the Vedic way of life, the king is trained to become a Rajarishi or a great saint, although he is ruling as a king. So nowadays the rulers, they're not properly trained, and they don't know what is scripture, what is Bhagavad Gita, what is Bhagavatam, and they do not know the holy scriptures, and they do not know that they are not the body, they are the soul. Then thereby they commit all bodily activities, and for their own sense gratification, they do all nonsense and they create a havoc in the society, especially in the Kali Yuga, because the rulers are elected by the people, but here we understand that the ruler is appointed by the Supreme Lord, so Naradeva or Narayan. Because the people in general, they are very foolish. They cannot have any qualification. They do not have any knowledge to elect a person who can able to rule. But it was the God who can able to appoint such saintly kings. Rajarajish, actually, they would manage their kingdom so nicely and piously that their subject would respect them as if they were the Lord. It was there. Even we could see that in Dwapara Yuga, uh, so many sons of a Brahmana were killed, and the king was not protected. That Brahmana went to Maharaj Yudhishthir, and he said, "What are you doing?" And my all the just born babies, they are, getting snatched or killed. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, he was taken back and he deputed Arjun. So Arjun came he there, and also he could not do anything because it is the will of the Lord, plan of the Lord. So Lord Vishnu had taken all these sons, he wanted to have the darshan of Krishna and Arjuna for that sake. Anyway, coming to this point, a king is supposed to protect each and every person, each and every living entity in his kingdom. In Sanskrit, it is called praja. Praja means all the plants and all the birds, animals, all the men, women, children, old age. Everybody is covered. That's why he is called Narendra, or the best amongst the human beings. How then could a king like Maharaj Parikshit be condemned by an inexperienced, puffed up son of a Brahmana, even though he had attained the powers of a qualified Brahmana? So it is a completely, uh, sinful activity. So since Samik Rishi was an experienced good Brahmana, he did not approve the actions of his sons because a son means he should join the Gurukul and he should get trained himself under a bona fide spiritual master, and he has to serve tadvidhi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya. He has to serve. Looks like this son, he was very much attached. That is the one thing. He was very much attached to his fathers, and the other way, he wants to show his power to the people. See how great I am, how powerful I am. I have the power to curse anybody, thereby they suffer, and thereby I enjoy. So this is the mode of the boy Shrungi. So the king was beyond this jurisdiction of the curses as a general rule. And what to speak of a good king like Maharaj Parikshit, because Maharaj Parikshit was called, Vishnu Ratha. And right from his womb, he had the darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then when he grew up, he became a great devotee of the Lord. And he could not allow even a Kali Purusha also in his kingdom. And when Kali Purusha, begged forgiveness, asked for shelter, Maharaj Parikshit, Since he was a Raja Rishi, he had kind heart, and he allowed Kali to live in such and such places. These are all the mirror of the good qualities of a nice devotee who is Maharaj Parikshit. But at the same time, people, they should not take undue advantage simply, by cursing others or seeing ill of the others. So some people, they are uh, very much, they get a lot of pleasure when others suffering. But a Vaishnava is a paradukha dukhi actually. When others are suffering, the Vaishnava is also suffers. But apart from that, Vaishnava also gives a lot of help and solutions. The solutions in this material world is Krishna consciousness. And people are, working very hard day and night. And some people are doing some research. And some people are, they are making a lot of money. But a Vaishnava simply, seeing them, he is worrying a lot. Why these people are, struggling like this without knowing, body and the soul. And the Vaishnava can able to reach them by way of book distribution, by a way of Damodar lamps, and by way of, arranging some kirtan and prasadam. And these are all the various, problem resolving issues. A devotee can able to facilitate arrange for the general public so that they also can become Krishna consciousness, and at the end of the life they can go back to Godhead. So in this case, the Shungi has done a great offense, and it's a very bad and sad thing. So immediately the father, he did not congratulate him. Father was not happy. So nowadays, father is happy when a child, gets first rank or any awards or rewards. He is very very happy. But present day fathers, they are not bothered about the spiritual welfare of his son. So a father can say, my son got placed in such and such great company, and his package is 1 crore per year. Or the father is very happy with the son, and if he is doing some great business and minting a lot of money, and if the son is in a great position, like many minister or any president, and he is very happy, he does a lot of propaganda of that. But no father is much worrying about the spiritual welfare of the son. So, a father is the real father who sees his son is properly, initiated, and he sees that his son, engages in devotional service. This way, father is very happy, but not like this boy Shrungi. Of course, though it is the will of the Lord. And why these incidents happens means through Bhagavatam, general public, they should aware, they should learn, and they should make their spiritual progress. And this is a great learning from Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so I stop here. And if you have any questions, comments, add-ons, you are welcome. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Hare Krishna.